It was a quiet Sunday morning in a small town, the sun painting soft golden patterns through the stained glass windows of a modest little church. Only a handful of people sat scattered across the pews, heads bowed, lost in their prayers. Among them was a little girl named Emily, no more than 7. Her tiny hands clasped so tightly together her knuckles turned white. Her long blonde hair was tied in a slightly crooked ponytail, and she wore a faded pink dress that had seen better days. But none of that mattered to Emily. She was here for something much more important. She squeezed her eyes shut, her lips moving silently before finally whispering, "God, I just want a dad for Mommy. I know she's lonely. She tries to be happy, but I see her cry at night when she thinks I'm asleep. Please, God, could you send us a dad? Not for me. I want Mommy to smile again. That's all." Little did Emily know, someone else was in the church that morning who wasn't usually there. A man named Thomas, a millionaire from the city, had been driving through town on his way to a business retreat. His expensive car had broken down just outside the village, and while waiting for a mechanic, he decided to step into the church. Perhaps it was curiosity, perhaps something deeper. Either way, he found himself drawn to sit quietly at the back, hoping for some peace. As he settled onto the wooden bench, he overheard the softest, most genuine little voice echoing through the almost empty hall. At first, he couldn't make out the words, but as he leaned forward, he caught the trembling plea, "I just want a dad for Mommy." It struck him like lightning. Thomas was a man who had everything money could buy: towering glass offices, sprawling estates, luxury cars, private jets. Yet despite all his wealth, he felt an aching emptiness. His wife had passed away 5 years ago, leaving behind a void no amount of money or distractions could fill. He had grown bitter, cold, focusing on profits and ignoring anything that tugged at his heart. Until now, he watched Emily from afar. When the service ended, she bounced out of the pew and ran to her mother, a woman who looked barely 30, with tired eyes and a gentle smile that never quite reached full brightness. Her name was Sarah. She hugged Emily close, smoothing down her daughter's hair with hands that looked like they had known both hard work and heartbreak. Thomas couldn't shake off what he heard. That night in his hotel room, he lay awake replaying the little girl's prayer over and over. Something about her innocence, her selflessness. She hadn't prayed for toys or for herself at all, just for her mother's happiness. It shattered something inside him. The next morning, Thomas found himself back at the small church. This time, he waited until the service was done, then watched as Sarah and Emily lingered to light a candle. Summoning courage he hadn't needed in boardrooms full of billionaires, he approached them. "Excuse me," he said, his voice cracking more than he intended. Sarah turned, startled, pulling Emily protectively close. "I'm sorry to bother you. I was here yesterday. I overheard your daughter praying." Sarah's cheeks flushed in embarrassment. "Oh goodness, Emily, what did you do?" she chided softly, mortified that a stranger had heard such personal words. But Thomas smiled gently. "No, please don't be upset. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. She prayed for you. That's rare. Most children her age." He paused, trying to steady his emotions. Emily looked up with wide, innocent eyes. "Are you sick too, Mr.? You sound like Mommy when she misses Daddy in heaven." That innocent remark broke Thomas completely. He knelt so he was eye level with Emily. "No, sweetheart, I'm just someone who forgot what really matters." He spent the next hour talking with them. At first, Sarah was cautious. Life had taught her to be wary of wealthy men who thought they could fix problems by throwing money around. But Thomas was different. He listened, really listened. He learned about how Sarah worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. How Emily loved to help her mother cook, even if all they could afford was pasta most nights. How Sarah's husband had died in an accident when Emily was just a baby, leaving a hole neither had ever truly filled. Thomas started visiting more. Sometimes he'd bring groceries, other times little gifts for Emily, nothing extravagant, just small things like coloring books or a box of her favorite cookies. More importantly, he brought time. Dinners where he and Sarah would laugh over, Silly stories. Afternoons spent helping Emily with her reading. Slowly, Sarah's cautious walls began to crumble. Months passed, and with them came laughter echoing through the modest home. Emily would dance around the tiny kitchen, squealing with delight whenever Thomas picked her up and spun her around. Sarah began to smile, the kind of smile that lit up her whole face, the kind she hadn't worn in years. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant oranges and pinks, Thomas found himself sitting on the porch with Sarah, their hands brushing just slightly. He turned to her, heart thundering like a boy half his age. Sarah, I never thought I'd feel this again. You've both brought life back into a man who thought he was destined to live alone forever. I don't want to just visit. I want to come home to you. To both of you, if you'll let me. Tears sprang into Sarah's eyes. She squeezed his hand. Thomas, you were the answer to a little girl's prayer long before we realized it. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. From inside the house, Emily peeked through the window, eyes sparkling. She didn't quite understand adult words, but she knew enough to run out, throw her arms around Thomas and shout, "Does this mean you're my new daddy?" Thomas picked her up, hugging her close, tears streaming down his cheeks. Yes, sweetheart, if you'll have me, best prayer ever. Emily giggled. Years later, Thomas would often sit quietly in that same church. Emily's small hand tucked in his, Sarah leaning against his shoulder. The millionaire who once thought he needed nothing found that the greatest treasures weren't found in bank accounts, but in whispered prayers of little girls who simply wanted to see their mother smile again. Sometimes. Just sometimes, life listens, and miracles walk in on quiet Sunday mornings when you least expect them.